So I found out where creativity is in the brain last fall when the National Academy of Sciences asked me to do an art science installation on the Mall in DC for part of this big science exposition that was being held. I asked our lab to do something on intuitive insight because it's always really interested me, that breakthrough moment, that eureka, aha moment that people have. It's like the core of creativity in our brains. So everybody in the Imaging Research Center had great ideas, and we built this rolling booth that we can take apart and take anywhere that allows people to experience and learn about their own intuitive insight. We know a lot about what's happening in your brain in those magical moments. But what's more important is the way that knowledge crashes into our culturally accepted ideas about what your brain is doing when it's doing its best work. What is the most important kind of intelligence for where we are now? What does smart mean? So here's what I found out. Solving a puzzle or overcoming some barrier in your thinking means connecting ideas that were not connected before. That's the way it is with the iPod. It's music appreciation meets ergonomics, meets object fetish, meets ideas about freedom. Nobody had put these ideas together before. So when they did, bingo, innovation. So when people visited our booth, they saw 4 short films. They looked through these little eye holes and they saw 4 short films in a row. These films were just a few seconds long a piece, and they were kind of ambiguous and obscure. And yet we told them these films were all taken at the same time of the same common event that happens twice a day in towns all across America. And this was true. But we designed the film so that only 10% of the audience was going to be able to put this together and get it, kind of instantly. Because we didn't want them telling each other what it was, and we wanted to hear what else they came up with. We wanted to hear the wrong answers, and they were fabulous. In fact, we collected them. They were able to type them in on a keyboard or text them. The wrong answers were, in a way, the best. But anyway, so when you're looking at 4 disconnected films and trying to figure out what's going on, here's what's happening. The signals from your eyes travel back through the optic nerve and cross in the optic chasm. They go through some exotic biology like the lateral geniculate body, and then they radiate out to the occipital lobe in the very back of your brain. And that's where the neural activity for processing what you see begins. The neural activation starts to spread forward as patterns of light and dark and color start to ignite pathways meant to process them. And the activity moves up toward the middle of the brain, and empathetic responses might be triggered. Your brain might start to replay physical experiences that it's had with things like this before, movements and smells and sounds. And the whole time, deeper inside your brain, activity in the cingulate gyrus is moving back as this other activity is moving forward. They're sort of passing each other like these 2 waves. I don't even know if the scientists particularly care about this kind of image, but to me, it's just a beautiful gesture. It's like watching a dance. I think it's one of the best parts. Okay, I just want to pause here for a minute before we get to the part about insight and say that this story is actually not about the neuroscience. It's about what it means. It's about the potential impact it can have on how we understand ourselves, on the prevailing wisdom of what a mind is and what it does when it's doing its best work. That culturally embedded understanding drives a lot of our decisions about education and about the way we value one another as people. I just had to stop here and say that. We'll pick up on intuitive insight in your brain next week.